It began in cosmic violence. Around 4.5 billion years ago, a Mars-sized object slammed into the young Earth, hurling molten debris into orbit. That debris eventually coalesced into the Moon, a pale, cratered companion silently circling our planet, observing the slow rise of oceans, continents, and life. Millennia passed. Civilizations bloomed and vanished. Then, for the first time, creatures from Earth reached upward, not just with dreams, but with machines. On July 20th, 1969, in the Sea of Tranquility, two men emerged from a fragile lunar module named Eagle and became the first beings in history to walk on another world. Neil Armstrong's words echoed through history. "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Beside him, Buzz Aldrin stepped into the lunar dust, describing it as magnificent desolation. And for 21 short hours, the Moon, for billions of years untouched, felt the presence of humanity. Today, over half a century later, the landing site remains, not bustling with life or activity, but frozen in time. The footprints, instruments, discarded tools, and silent relics are still there. And though no wind or rain will ever erase them, the question lingers. What does it look like now? The Apollo 11 mission launched on July 16, 1969. 3 astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, rode a Saturn V rocket into the heavens. Collins remained in orbit aboard the command module, while Armstrong and Aldrin descended to the lunar surface. Their goal was not just scientific, but symbolic, to demonstrate humanity's capacity to transcend its earthly limitations. The Sea of Tranquility became their landing site. What they left behind, intentionally or otherwise, was a makeshift campsite, a museum in the vacuum of space. The largest remnant is the lunar module's descent stage, a gold and silver structure still anchored in the dust, having served as a launch pad for their return. Around it lie instruments, a passive seismometer used to detect moonquakes, and a laser reflector, still functional today, that helps measure the exact distance between Earth and the Moon. Nearby is the TV camera that beamed images to over 600 million viewers back home, along with sample collection tools and empty bags once used to gather 21.5 kilograms of moon rock and regolith. The American flag, famously planted in the lunar soil, was accidentally knocked over by the exhaust of the ascent module. Today, it is almost certainly bleached ghost white, or perhaps disintegrated entirely, due to relentless ultraviolet radiation and temperature extremes that swing from -127 degrees Celsius to 173 degrees Celsius. But there were also deeply human artifacts left behind. A disc engraved with messages of goodwill from 73 countries, a patch honoring the lost Apollo 1 crew, a golden olive branch as a symbol of peace, and even bags of human waste. Trivial though it may seem, those waste bags contain trillions of microbes, living remnants of Earth biology, now exposed to the Moon's harsh environment. Could any of them have survived? Unlikely, but not impossible. Some extremophiles on Earth, like Deinococcus radiodurans or certain tardigrades, can survive radiation, vacuum, and freezing temperatures. The idea that Earth's microbes might persist or mutate on the Moon fascinates astrobiologists. These biological time capsules might offer insight into life's resilience, or even unintended planetary contamination. For decades, Earth-based telescopes have been unable to view the Apollo 11 site. The resolution simply isn't sufficient, but in 2009, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance orbiter passed just 24 kilometers above the surface and captured high-resolution images. There, in stark monochrome, lie the shadows of the descent stage and the faint paths left by Armstrong and Aldrin as they moved between their instruments. Their footprints, undisturbed for 56 years, trace the brief moment when life from one world stepped into another. The Moon has no weather, no erosion, no tectonics. Without air or flowing water, disturbances remain as they are. A footprint on Earth may last minutes. On the Moon, it can last millions of years. That's the paradox of this lifeless world. In its silence, it preserves the echoes of our greatest endeavor. Despite decades of exposure, most of the Apollo 11 artifacts are still intact, albeit dulled, bleached, or coated in fine dust. The thermal extremes and solar radiation may have degraded some materials, especially plastics and fabrics like nylon. But the essential structure, the metal, the science instruments, the physical traces of humanity, remains largely unscathed. The significance of the Apollo 11 site extends far beyond history. It is considered by many as an extraterrestrial cultural heritage site, a monument not of stone or bronze, but of courage, curiosity, and collaboration. NASA has requested that all future missions steer clear of these areas, preserving them for science and reverence alike. There is growing support for protecting such lunar sites under international law, akin to UNESCO World Heritage designations. This would recognize the Apollo 11 landing zone not merely as old equipment scattered on a desolate plain, but as the first human outpost beyond Earth, a record of when our species stepped beyond its cradle and into the cosmos. One day, the landing site may become a museum. Future astronauts, lunar settlers, or tourists may stand beside those faded imprints, gazing down at the boots that walked ahead of them. They will see, firsthand, the evidence that humans once dared to reach for the stars, and succeeded. The moon is often called dead, but in truth, it is alive. Alive with memory, with legacy, with the silent testimony of one of humanity's boldest acts. No wind will erase those footprints. No rain will wash away the golden foil or the scattered tools. They remain as a time capsule of ingenuity and bravery, of science and symbolism. 56 years have passed, but the moon still holds the moment, still holds us. Not just as visitors from Earth, but as part of its own story. A place that once was barren, but now carries the legacy of a species reaching into the dark, leaving a mark that may outlive everything else we build.